What's up, everybody? I'm Jason with Savage Actual. This is my good co-host, Mr.
Patrick Moultrup. Hello, hello, hello.
We're fucking back, and we have an awesome segment today. We're covering Arma 3's DLC, which is SOG Prairie, which is run by Savage Game Designs, which is primarily based out of the UK by the fellow named Rob Graham. And they created this kick-ass game, this downloadable content for Arma based on operations that were going across the border during the Vietnam War in Laos. And this game is unlike a lot of other ones. It's not, Call of Duty, Battlefield. It's basically
not a shoot and loot.
It's not a shoot and loot. It's basically fucking insert, do a mission, and try to get the fuck out of Dodge. And you're going against a fuck ton of NBA. In Savage style, we've been doing a lot of collaboration with a bunch of different companies behind the scenes, and this is one of which, and we're very proud to sit here and talk about this game. And we've got some good interviews with actually the game design team and some of the actual members of this unit from the Vietnam era. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to this. It's
going to be a great episode. There's going to be a lot of information in here that you really can't get anywhere else. Jason and I have been lucky enough to have access to these guys just sort of based on, our background being, part of the special operations community, and these guys reached out to us because of that. And so, this is going to be a great episode with a lot of interesting information about the game and about these guys' backgrounds. So make sure you guys follow, subscribe, check out our socials. We've always got more stuff on there. And thanks for hanging out with Savage Actual.
Yep. See you guys.
May 1954. The French defeat at Dien Bien Phu signals the end of French Indochina. Vietnam is divided into North and South. North Vietnamese forces soon begin infiltrating South Vietnam. In neutral Laos and Cambodia, the NVA builds 16,000 miles of concealed logistics routes. The Ho Chi Minh Trail. The stage is set for one of the bloodiest wars in history. 1968. 500,000 U.S. troops are now deployed in Vietnam. An elite unit is formed to target the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They begin a secret war in the heart of enemy territory. In desperate battles where small teams often face hundreds of NVA soldiers, they will sustain over a 100% casualty rate. This unit is MACV SOG, and this is their story, told in their own words.
On the ground in Laos, we had to move slowly, with zero noise. We had to listen to the jungle. It was a key part of our survival.
The NVA were everywhere. The trackers, they're trying to find us.
We called Prairie Fire on the radio. That brought in every aircraft from miles around.
Oh, you probably can't hear me yet.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Got you loud and clear.
Good to meet you.
Sam, what's up? Dick, good seeing your face again.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Yeah, if I'd known you're going to have that big of an audience, I'd have combed my hair or something, you know.
We just got done shooting the last 45 minutes about the game. Literally walk out of the studio 2 minutes later, here we are. So we just, this is my co-host Patrick. Hello, Dick and Sam.
Hi, Patrick.
He's,
How's it going, Patrick? Nice to meet you.
Hello, sailor.
That's right. I am the sailor here. Well, Marine and sailor. I started out as a Marine and then eventually went to the Navy. I felt like, you know, I didn't want the lobotomy that went along with the Marine Corps, so I.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, we watched the gameplay that you sent us, Rob, and oh man, so we got in depth about, you know, just the realism that you guys tried to you know, throw in there in the game. We compared it to some of the modern day shooters like Call of Duty and you know, Battlefield, which are great games, but this is quite different. So in a very good way. So we, you know, really, you know, the whole patrol aspect of snooping and pooping, slow moving, taking a knee, listening, you know.
Just realism, you know.
Realism, not reconning by fire, so you don't let them know that you're fucking there. You guys crushed it. So pretty honored to be here in front of you, Rob, Sam, and obviously you, Dick. Yeah, so we're very stoked to sit down with you guys right now. We'll hold off on the serious questions for.
Oh yeah.
So how long did it take you guys from sort of the idea phase until obviously this thing was just released? How long did it take total for you guys to build this out?
That's a good question for recording, I reckon. Oh, you are recording. Okay, so all right. I suppose you know, like all good things, they start with the team, and the team was formed around 2003, so that's 18 years ago. Working on Unsung Mod for Operation Flashpoint, and then it moved on to Arma, and then Arma 2, and then I got involved with it in Arma 2. So I was with it for like 7 or 8 years, and then we got the idea to make instead of a free mod, which, you know, we wanted to get better quality assets in there, make it look like a proper game rather than a free mod. And so that took us 3 years, the last 3 years.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it definitely, you can tell work went into that. I mean, it looks amazing, and the playability of the options, it's an extraordinary game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, I can't wait to play it with Jason as well. I want to see him scream like a little girl.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday. I was like, man, now I'm gonna have to. Because out of the two of us, he's got the PC. So I was, man, I'm gonna have to get a PC because this looks super cool, and I really want to spend some time playing it and learning a little bit more about the game.
This is our video guy, William Kelso.
How's it going?
He's a prior Army 11 Bravo medic. So we've got quite the little trio of veterans here trying to, you know, represent the veteran community in a good way. And now here we are trying to help promote you guys in this very important story.
That's cool.
Dick, what are your thoughts on all this, Dick? You've been a part of this now for a little bit, and you know, seeing this game and your story being, you know, told and coming to fruition. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, I'm not, you know, really a gamer as such. I played, you know, Call of Duty and some of those kinds of things, but you know, I've been very impressed with this. I mean, because it's so situationally specific, you know, to a kind of warfare, to a particular time, to particular weapon systems and things like that. Yeah, it runs my arousal level up, you know, watching it, seeing them come after you, and just knowing that the bad guys are really watching you. They're reacting to what you do, and they will hunt you down. I mean, it's not a little phony thing out there. They know where you are. They watch what you do, and they react to what you're doing, and they'll come get you. So you got to stay on your toes, or they'll knock you down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Remember when we first talked about this, and Rob was explaining that the outposts are set up very much like they were back then, and the realism is, they've really obviously worked super hard to make it as realistic as possible. What do you think when you go on to some of the outposts and you're walking along and you're watching that on the screen and it looks exactly like it did when you were in Vietnam?
Yeah, I like that. I've been working on a book on my experience with SOG. So having been working on that and then coming in and seeing the game and seeing the images that are out there and everything, and I'm comparing that with what I'm writing and what I'm pictures that I've brought up, videos that I took when I was there. So it looks realistic.
Does it jog your memory since you're in the midst of writing this book? Is like playing the stuff in the game, you're like, oh yeah, making you think about things that you have potentially forgotten about? Yeah, and it's been an interesting journey because as I started writing, it's been a few years, so some things I wasn't as clear on when I started writing, but as I've gone along, I start to recall more and more things and able now to go back to the beginning and say, here's some things I should have put in. Here's some things I left out. Here's the first time I met this guy down at the bottom of the screen and, what my reaction was to him. Probably he must not be able to hear me yet because he's not giving me a hard time. But yeah, so a lot more things have come out, and then I've talked to a lot of people who were on the team with me, people, like Tilt that were on other teams. We were, like Tilt and I were there almost identical in time. We were at the same places. We shut down FOB1 together, went down to CCN, so we overlapped, quite a bit. So we knew each other. So when you can go back and talk to people who were there and say, do you remember such and such name? Do you remember this particular mission? They bring up some things that you've forgotten about. So, and plus it's helped renew some old acquaintances. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, luckily it's 2021 and technology is what it is, and it helps us tell this story and helps you guys connect and reconnect. We were discussing a lot of the tactics and the weaponry during your time compared to present day, and really how equal of a force that you guys went up against in comparison. And the jungle definitely equalizes that battlefield. Tilt, can you hear us?
10-4.
There he is. Tilt, good seeing you again. I'm Jason, one of the co-hosts of Savage Actual, and this is Patrick. He's the equal half, and then behind us we've got William Kelso, who is our video guy for the YouTube channel. He's also an Army veteran himself. He's an 11 Bravo medic. So we've got the trifecta of veterans here.
Outstanding.
So we understand a little bit about your era and your time over there, just enough to know that we don't know shit. So
keep in mind we respect your era too, man. I can't imagine fighting in a damn sandbox. I'll keep my jungle any day.
Yeah, you can see people coming from way off. It's
yeah.
It's not a lot of places to get down and hide. Yeah. I was telling Jason earlier, I grew up reading, and I can't even remember the names of the authors, but tons of Vietnam era stuff about LERPs and Mackie SOG and some of the other guys that have written. I'm sure you guys know these authors personally. And it's been, I know for a fact I still have all those paperback books that I collected for years. I've never really thrown away any of those books, and it's going to be interesting for Mr. Thompson to put out something new, and hopefully, I don't know if kids these days read a whole lot. It's definitely a different generation from when I was around. I mean, I didn't grow up around the internet and stuff, and so it was like reading that stuff to me was incredible. It was just amazing entertainment and to learn about the history and all that. So I'm hoping that this game coming out will renew some of that interest in that history, and
Absolutely.
because it's absolutely something that needs to be held on to, and we can never forget about it, because it is such an, the stuff that you guys have done is just freaking incredible.
Yeah. So we'll jump into, each one of your backgrounds more about, your capacity, what you did over there. But I guess let's start out with, the game itself with Rob and Sam and your crew, and then we'll blend, the game and the real story together kind of in the middle of it. So Rob, you're in the UK, man. You're in London right now.
Yeah, I'm in Exeter, the home of the Royal Marines, mate. Just down to the west side of London. Yeah, a couple of hours away.
Awesome.
And it's pouring with rain here, and you're wearing vests. I'm so jealous.
We're in sunny California right now.
I would take some of that rain. I miss rain. I don't think when's the last time it rained here? 6 months ago? Jesus.
Yeah, months.
We have plenty. Yeah, so we're in England. Most of my team, it's about 120 of us, in 30 countries worldwide. So we've got guys in Australia, Malaysia, Latvia. I could reel off a whole list of places: Brazil, Mexico, quite a few in the States, Canada, South Africa. All over, Italy.
Wow.
Hey, Rob, I'll be right back in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
So yeah, tell me, like, fruition, like how did this come to be? I mean, how did you get into games? How did this story, why specifically SOG? Why this Vietnam story?
Oh, well, it's kind of an easy question. Why SOG? Because why? What else is there in a way? To tell story. I mean, obviously, all stories are great stories from the military times and everything. The SOG stories are something a bit different. They're also, a generation of guys who are now about 75 years of age. And they came back from NAM and couldn't say a word. Because of all the papers they'd signed and all the secrets they'd got into. So, and then of course the whole NAM thing of not really talking about it after they got home. That happened to a whole generation of soldiers, right? And so from the heart, we wanted to do SOG. Like that was the thing. And then of course Tilt turned up doing his podcast with Jocko. So probably early on in our project, and we just were glued to them, and they were great sources for us, along with the books, because we'd all read the books by now, and that was it. But where it started was modding Operation Flashpoint, big team coming in, starting off small, free thing, being released free to people, amateurs, hobbyists. And this went on from 2003 till 2017, of guys passing the baton to each other, updating it for new engines in the Arma series. And by the end of it, we built a huge mod with loads of different vehicles and different factions, Australians, Koreans, all the different free world forces who fought over there. And we'd all been playing those scenarios. Every Sunday in the game, you're in a different scenario, and you might be Marines, or you might be Koreans, or you might be Australians, or or airmen, or whatever you're doing. And that was always great fun. And then we got the opportunity from Bohemia to make this DLC and make it a paid one. And then once you've got the opportunity for money coming in, we could then get a whole raft of composers, voice actors, loads of 3D artists, script writers, programmers, the whole works. And once we could put something like that together, and then we took that to General Bore when he was on holiday in Hawaii, and he called me back, and 10 minutes later he was in and he was on board. And so we had commanding general, former commander 5th group in our team right from the beginning. And that really changed everything in terms of how we designed it, because he was hands-on all the way through, like a good general is,
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah. And then about a year after that, we got Tilt involved, and he spent the last 2 years you know, answering numerous questions from us and finding us people and resources and ideas and, you know, guiding the story development, and both of them poring over all the equipment and, you know, just really digging in. So it's been a hell of a journey, a really amazing honor for us to work with these guys. And then, you know, going on from now, working with the wider Special Operations Association and getting involved with veteran welfare. And that's what we're going into with, you know, because the game can create a lot of publicity for things like that. And that's where we've been talking to Dick Thompson here, and he's been looking at the game with us. And so he's come on board from there. And we've got Jim Shorten joined in, Don Hassey, who was a crew chief who served with SOG, with the SOG Aviation Support Unit. So yeah, it's been, you know, getting all these guys, you know, telling us their stories, but not just that, literally looking at every object in the game over our shoulder and saying, you got that right and you got that wrong, you know, you got that right, you got that wrong, and we're frantically scurrying off and changing stuff, you know, and the next day they look at it and it's right, you know, and they've loved that. They've loved the fact
that give me a king bee. Get me a king bee in here.
Yeah. He wanted your king bee, and Tilt wanted his king bee, but he also wanted it to be able to sit in the door of the king bee.
That too.
And we hadn't made it so you could sit in the door. So I went back to the guys, we scratched our heads and we worked out how to add it, you know.
The tilt seat.
Yeah. It's called the tilt seat now. So
Tilt seat, I like it.
No fools, no fun, man.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And Sam, you know, you and I met the other day. Good to see you again, man. But I know you were brought on in a few capacities, one of which was a voice actor for the game. And tell us a little bit, you know, about your background and how you got connected with Rob and the team and these guys, and your capacity actually in the game.
Sure. So I was brought on about the end of my Army tour in 2020. Well, actually, it was in 2019, the end of 2019, that I started getting involved. So I had a buddy of mine, Dusty, who's a big modder of the Arma series and one of our greatest modelers. He's awesome, done a lot of great work for us. And he sent me a message and just said, hey, these guys are looking for voice actors. And I looked on, and Rob had posted on the Arma 3 Discord, and he said, yeah, we're looking for, you know, these guys are some really, really, you know, important people who have really big shoes to fill. And we're looking for people who have military experience. And, you know, I'm a non-combat vet, but, you know, this kind of stuff is really interesting to me. So I thought, hey, what the heck? And I remember distinctly somebody posted a reply that said, oh, you're looking for Rambo. And Rob said, these guys eat Rambos for breakfast. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So since then, you know, got involved with the voice acting, and it's just been a huge learning experience. I mean, I have read, I think, 3 books now, and I'm in the middle of reading about 7. And this just completely opened my mind to the world of SOG, and it got me interested in history. I go, you know, every time I go visit my family or my friends, I'm telling them all about the stuff that I learned about SOG, and it's so interesting. And every day it helps me appreciate everything I've got, you know, and when I come across my daily challenges, I think, you know what, like, it's not so bad when you think about the guys who are carrying 100+ pounds and having NVA chasing them and leeches sticking to them at night, and, you know, all this stuff. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, very, very impressed with the dedication and the passion behind the team and getting things right, and the huge sense of responsibility that they have is pretty cool. So definitely a unique team to be a part of, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, your voice work in the intro, I specifically brought that up. We're watching the intro, and when you're kind of describing everything in Vietnam and talking about everything with SOG and how it came about with the French leaving, and I didn't know it was you, and I actually said something to him. I'm like, I don't know who that is, but
I was like, I know who that is.
His voice is pretty. It fits it perfect. It's so good.
It's a good voice, man. it's
well, that means a lot.
Great voice, man. I'm like, dude, this is because you sound so much more. You know, not that your youth is a bad thing. You sound like you're from a different era.
Yeah. I expected a cowboy hat and
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
where do you live?
Down
Where are
south,
you at right now?
I'm a Minnesota boy. I'm from the great North Woods.
Okay.
Nice. I'm a big fan
So,
of the land of many lakes.
Well,
Absolutely.
it works. It definitely works. Your voice and the visuals go together perfectly. So excellent choice, Rob.
Yeah.
well, it's such a great honor to get to play Major General Bo Ray and Sergeant Jim Shorten. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I hope that I'm able to contribute, and all of us voice actors and the team members are able to contribute towards reviving that legacy and telling that story.
I think this is a huge revival. I think it's something that should have happened a long time ago, but technology wasn't there. And I mean, this is the apex. I think this is great fucking timing. So, and we can't cuss on this, by the way. So talk freely.
Yeah. Our channel is not rated G, and I think everybody knows that. So,
yeah, our YouTube channel is pretty. We're probably on the edge of getting canceled all the time because we fucking speak on. So
Demonetized.
Yeah.
In all good ways. Well, that's awesome. So you did the voice acting. Like, were you used in any other capacity outside of that?
I mean, I did a little bit of help with, writing some dialogue, helping edit some things, for the trailer. I helped a lot with that. And then just with testing and kind of coming up with ideas for different game mechanics and stuff, I kind of just float around. It's a cool position to be in as an actor because you don't really have any specific place where you fall otherwise. So you can just kind of become friends with everybody and learn everything as you want to. So it's pretty awesome.
Solid connections made for sure.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to Tilt and Dick. I guess let's just start with Dick. Let's hear your story. Tell us your story. Where you're from and when did you join the military, what branch, and how you obviously ended up in SOG.
I'm from a little town in South Carolina. So I had started in college, but I was afraid, based on the news that I was hearing, that Vietnam was going to be over before I graduated. And I didn't want to miss it. I felt this patriotic obligation to go participate, coming from kind of a military family. So I took a break and went down and enlisted and, planned to stay 3 years and get out. But once I got in and, they said, man, you ought to, you should go to OCS, you should go to Special Forces, you should jump out of airplanes and all of those kinds of things. And that sounded pretty cool. And the more they let me do things like that, the more hooked I got. So when I got to Vietnam, I'd been told, whatever you do, don't volunteer for SOG. All those guys die. If they don't die, they come back as a nutcase. So, you don't want any part of it. So that just pushed me right into them. I thought, this must be a really cool job. And then, once they said you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement to not say anything for 20 years, I said, well, how cool can that be? If we're doing something so neat that we can't talk about it for 20 years, I want some of that. So I volunteered for it, and we got to do some really cool things, and ended up staying 21 years before I got out. So
wow,
I got to play with Special Forces, Rangers, and different things like that. So I had a good time.
What rank did you get out of?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Got it. Nice. And what capacity in SOG and specifically Laos were you when you were there?
And I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
Were you a captain while you were, or a lieutenant or whatever, while you were in SOG?
Yeah, I was, when I got there as a lieutenant, and went out as a 1-1 for a few times, and then they gave me RT Michigan, and had Eldon Bargewell as my 1-1.
Wow.
So we ran several missions together, and then I got moved from that team to another team and did some other things. So I got to run a lot of missions. across the fence, a lot of internal missions. Met some really cool guys like Tilt, Lynn Black, and guys like that who were really a lot of fun to hang around with. And they were doing some hardcore missions, so you get around them and it kind of rubs off on you, and they share their techniques with you, and you learn from them. And it's a real honor to work with people like that.
So when my last deployment to Iraq, the op tempo can be pretty high. I mean, you had guys that would go out almost every single night, depending on like what our intel was, and kind of that was a big push on that was whatever intelligence we were getting in. And for us, the mobility piece was huge. Helicopters or vehicles. It was real easy to kind of get around. I know for you guys, obviously, you're living and working or living in on one side of the fence and operating on the other. Like, how often did you guys actually go out on missions, and like what sort of op tempo were you looking at? Was it like a couple times a month, or did it vary, depending on sort of what intel or what mission sets you guys were getting?
Well, it did kind of depended on, what was going on and what happened to you. I mean, sometimes you go out and, if the team gets shot up pretty bad, they can't just turn right around and put you back out. So it kind of depended on what happened on your mission. And, there were team leaders there who really wanted to go out. People, like Tilt and Lynn Black and guys like that who they preferred to go out. So they wanted short turnaround times when they came back in. And, so we got to do a lot of missions, plus we got to do some, in-country missions too. Some of them were real missions. Some of them were training missions, because you could go out and get in a rehearsal where you had live fire shoot back targets, so it made your training more realistic. It made you pay attention to what you were doing, because, those suckers would shoot you. So, that kind of got you ready to go out and play with the real guys. I mean, it was different in that, they were shooting real bullets, but there wasn't as many of them.
Right.
The first mission I went on, we were looking for a lost 500-man NVA battalion. So they sent 7 of us out there to find them with the mission to decimate them, destroy them when we found them. And, so sometimes people say, well, wow, the odds were not necessarily in your favor. Well, it sounds that way, but we carried a big stick. Once we found you, if we could live long enough to get that air support in there with us and just smoke you,
Yeah.
So,
Plus, that was a smaller footprint. It was designed that way. You guys would get in and hopefully get out.
Yeah, without being seen.
Yeah. Going in small, it was an advantage because it's easier to hide, if you're a small team versus a large team.
Now, I'm going to circle back to the term 1-1. Can you describe to our viewers what the term 1-1 means?
That was your number 2 guy, your assistant team leader. In a lot of cases, that person carried the radio. I preferred to carry my own radio. When the stuff hit the fan, I wanted to be able to talk to Covey. I wanted to know what was going on. So I just, threw an extra 25 pounds on and carried the radio myself most of the time. But the 1-1, was supposed to be the guy who would step in and take over if you went down. So usually the, next most experienced guy on your team. But, Tilt, I'm sure, has got some thoughts around that too.
Yeah. Well,
Tilt?
yeah, that's a good transition to talk to Tilt.
Well, I gotta ask Dick one question though. When you were the 1-0 Michigan, were you on a mission with Eldon Bardwell when he got shot in the chest and he thought he was dead from chasing the NVA into a cave?
Bardwell found, well, I don't know what you know about Bardwell. I mean, he was, just an incredible guy. No fear. I mean, no fear at all. So he chased these guys in. He found a brand new AK-47 with the front post on it, a vest of AK magazines. He put that on, so the battle continued, and he got stitched across the chest. And that AK magazine, it's made out of steel, plus it's got bullets in it. They were just barely poking through the magazine. But we didn't wear any kind of vest or helmets or anything like that.
Yeah.
But having that vest on. But to answer your question, Tilt, I think it was either the next mission after I turned it over to him or the one after that. Yeah, it was right after I had left the team.
Okay, because that was one of those classic missions where they were into the target, and they came across a command bunker where they got a lot of intelligence. And Eldon goes, "I want a POW," and there were some stay behinds, NVA stay behinds. So the recon team had gone into a base camp occupied with stay behind, not regular troops. Eldon assessed the situation. He chased the NVA into a cave. When he jumped through, he followed this NVA into the cave, and the NVA jumped into a hole. Eldon followed him, and the guy turned around and shot him in the chest, is what Dick talked about. He had that brand new NVA vest on, and he was shot, knocked him on his ass, and he remembered he was lying there. That night, he came back to our hooch with Lynn and I and said, "I was lying there. I thought I was dead." I go, "Wait a minute. If I'm thinking, I must be alive."
Holy shit. God damn.
And so here's two sidebars to that. 2 days later, he came back. Well, the next day he briefed Lieutenant General Richard Stillwell, who was the officer in charge of I Corps, on that whole mission. Mad Dog Shriver, another SOG legend, was at CCN at that time, TDY. Mad Dog went in the next day with his hatchet for us, and they had one of the biggest intel coups during the war. The second day after that incident, Eldon and the Frenchman, Doug Letourneau, flew to Hawaii, where Eldon met his son, his oldest boy, for the first time. So that's the sidebar.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the war, baby.
So what did you guys usually, for a loadout, obviously we all know that you guys you didn't have armor, you didn't wear helmets. And so what was it typical loadout that you guys tried to head into your missions with? I mean, how much weight do you think you were carrying?
Between 80 and 90 pounds. I'm like Dick. A lot of things that Dick said, we replicated. I, as the 1-0, carried the radio, and my whole time with Idaho, which was 19 months, I always carried the radio just for what Dick said. If there's contact, I want to be the guy in charge, or at least working with TAC Air and Covey. We were blessed to have good little people. And so with the radio and extra battery, 600 plus rounds, 10 to 12 hand grenades, 12 to 15 rounds for the M79, because we always carried a little thumper, the sawed-off M79. And then a little food, a canteen of water, depending on the land, how much water there was there. We carried purification pills. And so I assume Dick's load would be quite similar.
Yeah, I carried more magazines. When we were using the 20 round magazines, I carried 50 of those. Once we got our hands on the 30 rounds, later in 69, then I didn't carry as many because I had more capacity. But I carried a lot because I tended to shoot a lot. I like shooting those suckers. When they come and ask me, I just feel better if I'm knocking them down. Plus that gave me extra mags I could share, with my guys if they ran out. But, like Tilt, I believed in being loaded with frag grenades, with claymores. I like to put claymores out in layers when we could. Leave them behind if you were being chased. Leave them behind with a time fuse on. I mean, that just messes morale up when they're charging down the hill after you and a couple of claymores go off in their face. It makes everybody else kind of think about, I don't want to get too close to these guys because they're probably going to put some more out.
Yeah.
So they're just a lot of little techniques and things like that. But, it tilts a lot bigger than me. You can't tell by, here, but I was about carrying my weight, I think.
I believe it. Yeah, if you're carrying 50 magazines, my word, I carried like 30 plus, whatever that, 18 per magazine, and sometimes a few have an extra bandolier in there just in case. But the weight was heavy. You always felt it on your knees, and because I was tall, I spent a lot of time on my knees. I wore out more fatigue pants than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember, Dick, you were saying in one of the previous conversations that, I guess I should ask, were you fighting with South Vietnamese across the border? Or were you actually using Laotians against the North Vietnamese?
The first team I had was Vietnamese, and then I had a Mountain Yard team when I was with Eldon, and then the last team I had was Vietnamese.
Got it.
So I kind of started with Vietnamese, ended up with Vietnamese, and the Yards in particular didn't care for Vietnamese. They didn't care which side of the fence they were on. And they were good. I really enjoyed working with them. They would kind of walk through the jungle, because they were very familiar with it.
Yeah.
And we had used hand and arm signals all the time, and they would start pointing and giving the snake sign, and you'd look where they were pointing, and laying on a limb, would be some kind of viper or highly poisonous snake, just a little one. But he's laying there, and if you get nailed while you're out there, I mean, you're done.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, I can't even imagine you guys are out for multiple days. Obviously, you got to have a helo coming and pick you up, and if you're a super dense area and you break an ankle or get a snake bite or something, it's like that's bad.
You're just out of luck with a snake bite. I mean, there's something like 40 different venomous snakes, around in that area. So,
you ever lose anybody to that?
No, I didn't. I don't know if Tilt did. I don't know that I've heard of anyone getting lost.
That'd be a shitty way to go. All these people shooting at you and you get killed by a snake. God damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, they had one they called it a 2-step. After it bit you, took 2 steps and you're dead.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but that's why, I don't know, Dick, sometimes you may have run point yourself. I wasn't man enough to do that. I let my little people do it because they were better in the jungle, and they were the ones that spotted the pit vipers and whatever else we came into contact with. And of course, there's always a humorous side of that too, where we got overrun by monkeys once, and we hear them coming. We thought they were NVA coming to get our ass. I don't know if Dick's had an experience like that or not, but we're lined up. The pins are pulled on full automatic, and it was monkeys ran across us. And then Lynn Black and the Frenchman were tracked for 2 days, and they thought it was NVA, but it turned out to be orangutans. And they got doing hand gestures at each other, including, here's my IQ.
Wow, that's crazy.
In Laos.
God.
My story was more embarrassing than yours. I heard them coming, and I was just not going to be overrun by those guys. I got a Spectre gunship to come in. We smoked them, and you could hear the screaming and the yelling going on as Spectre was just wiping them out, and and then everything got really quiet, and I thought, man, that's pretty cool. They took care of them. But the next morning when we got up and started to move out, there were monkey parts all over the place.
Oh, God.
I mean, but my report went in 40 KIAs. I just didn't say what.
Yeah, we're gonna keep this one to ourselves.
Now, if that was your yard team, they would have been real happy, Dick, because they would have cut those suckers up and had chow before you moved out.
Yeah, Jesus
I
Christ.
bet that tastes good.
I've heard multiple accounts of bumping into tigers. Have you heard? Did you do it yourself? Did you hear any stories about tiger run-ins out there at all?
There were some there. There were a couple of times when we had one. We could hear him outside of our little position walking around. We had one get a dog. The NVA had dogs, and they were tracking us with the dogs, and the dog was loose from the handler, and we heard the screaming and carrying on when a tiger snatched up a dog, out away from us.
I like that dog story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, hey Rob, are you gonna add the monkey thing into the game anywhere?
Oh, I don't know if we can do it, to be honest, to put monkeys in. But
It's a serious game. None of that monkeying around this game.
well, you certainly get overrun enough. I mean, and there's points where you're all screaming like a dog that's been had by a tiger. So, we've got bits of that in there for the experience.
And the snakes are there. That's when you said the two-step thing, Tilt, there's a line in the game. I'm pretty sure Punisher, who plays you in the game, does this line. I might be wrong, but he says, yeah, two-step, takes only 2 steps, you're dead after you get bit. And made me think of that.
I had an ex-girlfriend like that too. We called it two-step.
Oh.
We're
We're one step away from TMI.
Yeah. So what years, Dick and Till, what years were you guys there in country on the, the ocean side?
I was 68, 69.
Yeah, Dick and I we kind of had the same time frame without even realizing. I arrived in late April 68, went home late April 69, came back in October 69 through April 70. And then, unlike Dick, I could see the reductions in force coming, and I just packed my bag and went home.
You're like, this is getting boring. Let's get out of here.
Dick, I remember a story. I'll let you say it, but maybe you can tell the story about how somehow you fell out of the helicopter.
Yeah. I had come back from a mission, and I was supposed to have 2 days off after we finished the debriefing. So I was pretty excited about that when I woke up that morning and thinking, I've got 2 days just to do what I want to. But my experience has been, if you're hanging around CCN, somebody's going to grab you up and give you something to do. So we had a safe house downtown, and I decided I was going to go downtown and stay in the safe house and not have to worry about that. So I was headed out of the compound. I had my car 15. I had a bandolier of ammunition that I was taking with me. So I was traveling pretty light. And as I was leaving the compound, I heard a helicopter coming into the helipad that was up kind of close to the front gate. And when it landed, a guy jumped out and he started yelling at me. And when I got close enough to be able to hear what he was saying, he was asking me if I knew how to hook up a McGuire rig. So I said, yeah, I can do that. So I set my weapon and ammunition down against the contents container. I hopped up in the aircraft, and I started, hooking the ropes up. And then I realized that the aircraft was vibrating. The RPMs had picked up a lot, and we were starting to lift off the ground. So I told the crew chief, hey, I'm not supposed to be on here. And he said, sorry about that. We got a team in trouble. We've got to go.
Sure.
And I'm looking as we lift off. I'm looking at my weapon and everything, leaning against the Connex container. So I didn't have anything. You know, I might as well have been as naked as a jaybird up there and flying out. And I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what was going on, except somebody was in trouble. And then I was kind of sitting there, just thinking and different things playing out in my mind. And all of a sudden it was like a video had come on. And in the video, a message came back and said, the aircraft in front of us has also been shot down. And, and then all of a sudden we're there, and, I was going to have to get down to the ground somehow. So I thought, well, I'd just drop one of the McGuire rigs down. And for some reason, I thought that I could hold on barehanded to that brand new slick nylon rope. Sounded like a good plan. So once I started down, a couple of things was happening. One was I couldn't. I was just getting faster and faster, and so it just took everything off the insides of my hand. The rope's turning red, and I'm sliding and thinking. The pilot is also lifting up, so the McGuire rig didn't even go into the canopy anymore. And it's about 150-foot canopy. So I'm thinking, this is not good. When I get to the end of this rope, I've got to be able to hold on to that McGuire rig, enough to stop my descent. But once I got there, I realized I couldn't hold on to it. So I thought, when I get over the center of this tree that I'm kind of swinging toward, I'm just going to go for it and go into the canopy. And, I got 150 feet to play with. I'll grab something before I get down to the ground. So I went in there, and I guess I was about 50 feet off the ground when I hit a limb and just kind of like wrapped around it, hit me across the stomach. And that stopped me. So then I, climbed on down and went out and, went on a little in-country mission there.
And don't forget, Dick, you forgot one key detail. You borrowed from the door gunner his M16 and one ammo belt with 5 magazines. And you're going into Laos on a bright light, the most dangerous mission in the world, with 5 magazines and a borrowed M16.
Yeah, unfortunately, as I was falling through the trees, the magazine that was in the weapon fell out. So I was down a magazine by the time I got to the ground. But at least I did have a weapon at that point, and I didn't get very far until, I heard a twig break, and I looked and I saw 2 guys looking at me, and so we made eye contact as they came up with their AKs. I used to practice a lot on going to the ground and emptying a full magazine before I hit the ground. I used to put silhouettes out on the firing range, and I'd practice hitting all 5 targets before I got to the ground. So as I was going, those 2 were right beside each other. I couldn't just shoot one, because if I shot one, the other one would shoot me before I shifted to him. So I just put the spray right on top of them, and I could see the bullets hitting them. So I knew I got both of them as I was going down. And, they never got back up. So
all with a burnt hand and fucked up ribs and, adrenaline through the fucking roof. God damn.
Oh, yeah, several broken ribs.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like a wimp. All my stories are wimpies compared to this one.
Yeah. Jeez. Dick didn't even
They
say
put it on
anything
your jump manifest, your jump log.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you get out of there, man? Like, what?
Well, I knew there was the first aircraft that went down burned up totally. But there were 3 survivors: the pilot, a sergeant, and Vietnamese on the aircraft were, the co-pilot, survived, but the aircraft burned up. The aircraft that went out in front of us, that went down, he was trying to lift out the American and the Vietnamese, who were really banged up, burned, and everything, and they were strapped on a jungle penetrator. He was trying to lift them up, but as he was lifting them up, when he took hits and lost some power, the helicopter, went forward, and that jungle penetrator, it was like a big grappling hook, and it hooked onto a big limb, and when that cable broke, it just fired the aircraft right into the canopy and down. But that crew was still in the aircraft, and fuel was pouring out. I could see that from the air. So, my first priority was to get to them, try to get them out of the aircraft. But as I got close, the pilot started shooting at me with his 38. And I yelled and told, "Hey, I'm a good guy." He didn't believe it. So, I love helicopter pilots. They are super. They're fearless. They saved our life all the time. They did it from the air. Once their feet get on the ground, in the jungle, the environment all of a sudden is so different. He was a little nervous.
Absolutely.
But I just counted how many times he was shooting, and when I knew he had to reload, I charged, where they could see me, and so then he calmed down until he said, "Well, where are the rest of you people?"
You're like, I'm not even supposed to be here.
It's just me. I'll get you out. You just hang on. I'll get us out of here. So I got them out, and I put them in a position I thought they could hide in and kind of defend while I went out and found the team. And eventually, we had them drop some demolitions in. I blew the trees down, made a big enough hole we could get everybody out. So, it was a long afternoon.
But you got everybody out. And don't forget the footnote here. Who chewed your ass out after you had such a successful mission?
So we got back to the camp commander and an aviation colonel. They chewed me out because they said, "You didn't get everybody out." I said, "What do you mean? I got everybody out." And I said, "No." The Air Force pilot that was flying that King Bee didn't tell me we were missing a guy. One of his people, a Vietnamese guy, burned up with the aircraft. Nobody told me that person existed until we got back. So then, the camp commander said, "You're going to have to go back out there in the morning and find this guy's body and bring him back." So, well, I could do that. Fortunately, it rained really hard for 2 days. We couldn't go back out there. So that gave me a little time to, for my hands to heal up a little. But, when we went back out and found the body, we were 100 meters from the aircraft. You knew there was a body there after 2 days. With the rain and the heat. Just take your breath. But we found him, got him out, and then the bad guys showed up. And they had also told me to destroy the other helicopter, the last one that went down. It was kind of down in a ravine. So I used the rest of the demolitions that I had there. I was inside the helicopter packing I had 40 pounds of C4, packing all of that stuff all around, because they told me we don't want any communication gear. We don't want anything they can get off the aircraft. So I'm packing all that stuff around, and these jokers start coming up and shooting at me. They knew I was in the aircraft, so I'm packing all this C4, and the bullets are hitting the C4, and I'm, that's fine. It's not going to set it off, but I got blasting caps with me. And at some point, you have to put the blasting caps in the C4 and set off the time fuse. So finally, I said, "Okay, it's time to do this." I crammed 2 blasting caps in there, popped fuse igniters, started trying to crawl out. They came after me. I got up to where I had put my team, they ran up behind the helicopter and they're shooting at us from behind the helicopter. And I'm up there with my team and we're looking at each other like, did those idiots not know what you were doing in there? Are they standing there? They don't know where all that smoke's coming from inside the helicopter. No, apparently they don't, but we better get down because we're going to get a tremendous blast wave here in a minute. I mean, it just, vaporized those guys when it went off. But
awesome.
they had a bunch of friends that were coming on up there. And so anyway, we had a nice battle going on there for a while.
Just another day in SOG, Dick.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It sounds like a really easy 2 years there.
Yeah. Basically vacation, right? Jesus Christ.
God damn.
Well, I mean, you try to take a little R&R and it just turns into another day at SOG.
Yeah.
But except for, some light shrapnel and some burns and things like that, it turned out okay for me. Bad guys didn't fare well, but
Oh my God.
Question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Tilt.
That's one of those incredible stories.
Question for you, Tilt. You said between 68 and 69, you had returned home for about 6 months before returning to the jungle. Can you reflect, how was that for you? How different was home? And when you returned to the jungle in 69, how different was it, or how similar for that matter?
I had 5 months. I went up to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, 10th group. And all the guys that I've been with in SOG, Spider Parks, Pat Watkins, Junkins, Estes, Tony Harrell, they all went to D Company, which was an active A-team company. It had A-teams that were training or going out. They would get stuck maybe once in a while with a funeral. I got signed to Signal Company, and we had 2 butter bars, 2 young lieutenants that were running it like basic training. And so I hated my whole time there. Went down to the Pentagon. Billy Alexander cut my orders to go back to Nam, extended my ETS a few months so I could go back. And quite frankly, I felt more comfortable at CCN with Lynn Black and the team. And of course, when I returned, there's a lot of harassment from the little guys, but it was great. I felt more at home there. And of course, when I got my job in recon in 68, May, I arrived at FOB1, ST Idaho was wiped out. That's how there was an opening in recon at that time.
Yeah.
So Spider Parks became the 1-0. When I returned to CCN in October of 69, on November the 3rd, RT Maryland got, all the Americans were wiped out. Wald, Brown, and Donnie Shue. 10 days later, RT Asp was wiped out. And the 2 men on that team, Sergeant Ray and Suber, they are still listed as missing in action. They're amongst the 2 Green Berets today from the Secret War, among 50 Green Berets alone in Laos that are still listed as missing in action.
Wow.
And that you throw in 80 plus aviators who died supporting us, the SOG missions, to give you a sense of the lethality of what we're up against.
Has anybody ever reached out to you guys? Any recovery organizations that are going in there looking for anybody? I mean, obviously, you guys have intimate firsthand knowledge of where you were at different times, and know the ground very well. And do you ever have any organizations that are trying to recover?
Well, there's the federal government there's an agency now. This name has changed a lot in 50 years. Its primary mission was supposed to be Vietnam.
Yep.
It's called DPAA. It's the Department of POW MIA Accounting Agency. So that's their job, but they don't, in my opinion, they don't work well enough with veterans. On one hand, there's a Special Operations Association that Dick and I are members of. For over 10 years now, DPAA has sent an analyst and a caseworker, people who work them. They come out and they talk to our people. So they get the information that helps them to move forward. So that's one side of it. And this is like mid-management or key people that are really care about the mission. And they have teams today that are now finally going back after the COVID virus. Everything was shut down, but they've had operations going on in country as well as some across the fence, always with a lot of political difficulties and issues. And it's very expensive. So, but we had case. We're talking about Jim Shorten. Jim is unique in that he's the only man I know who ran recon, who spent $35,000 of his own money to go back to Cambodia in an effort to get to the F-4 Phantom jet that crashed in 1970. And his mission was on a bright light to find the two Americans in that F-4. And he got shot out. It bothered him. And 25, 30 years later, he went back. He was a doctor then. And he went back. He hired mercenaries. He got to the site where the F-4 was. They ran into uniformed bandits, armed Cambodian bandits that ran them off. He said, you could die or get the hell out. And they left. Then Jim went back with DPAA three years ago. He went back on the site. He stayed with them. He even helped them dig up the land. And they have sifters that when they go through the dirt, they're looking for anything, a tooth, a piece of metal, anything that could tie into their case. And he stayed 2 extra weeks with them. They said, hey, if we ever go back, we'll call you. Well, last year, before the COVID virus shutdown, DPA went back and never called Shorten once. And it was just an indication of mid-management. There's some folks there that don't really work well sometimes with our people. So it's a personal, sad story. But in terms of Jim, he's just like Dick. There's like a special echelon of SOG guys, and they're right at the top of the class.
Well, I'm going to connect you with a friend of mine who was our air officer, who was a Wizzo on F-18s, who runs an organization. And he's been doing it primarily for the World War II and the island hopping campaigns with the old Corsairs and stuff like that, down pilots. So I'm going to connect you guys to them, and they're pretty well funded, and they're doing some pretty fucking amazing things. And they've talked about going to Vietnam.
It used to be called Bent Prop.
So he was a part of Bent Prop. He's with something else now.
Yeah, it's changed the thing, but they spent a lot of time in Palau and some other places. And I talked to them, 6 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But here's the Vietnam spin on this. You know, during the Vietnam War, when the war was ongoing, American families sent letters to the North Vietnamese government saying, treat our prisoners better. By 1970, there was an organization that became the National League of POW MIA Families. They've been in existence since 1970. And one of the first chairmen was Mr. Mills. He joined that effort after his son was shot down as a Navy. He was a backseater with an F-4 that went down in '66. His daughter, Ann Mills Griffith, got involved, and she's been involved ever since. She's gone through 3 husbands in the process. She works day and night, 7 days a week on this mission. And they just really are there. And she works with our government. She knows every communist figure in Laos, Cambodia, and North Vietnam, and they trust her more than our government because she's been there. And she doesn't lie to them. No games. So I bore you with this to say this. We were the first Vietnam veterans that went back and began to put pressure on the other countries to bring up our people. World War II said, hey, can we do the same thing? And helped them. Korean War vets did the same thing. Now, when it comes to funding issues, World War II and Korea say, hey, Vietnam, they don't have big numbers like we do. Help us get the big numbers. So that's my bitter pill for the day. And I know I shouldn't be going off on this rant. Rob, don't smack me, but
no,
that's an important subject, and it's something that needs to be needs to be chased down a little bit more. And maybe something we'll talk about in the future, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's, 18 Delta here, medic behind me. He's a STAR guy currently. I mean, I've always wanted to go back. I've been to Vietnam a few times. I love that entire area. You got 3 guys that would love to help out any facet. Any way we can do it. And we're still young and still semi-mobile. We're in the 40s and late 30s now, but we're
All right. Teams that are on the ground, and Dick will agree with me, the teams that are on the ground are young and they're aggressive. They go out, they do a great job. There's dedication, there's no question about it. And 3 years ago, Mike Taylor, he is the chairman of the Special Operations Association, SFA, Special Forces Association. We have a joint POW-MIA committee. Mike went back with Ann and a delegation. They had parallel missions that went back to Southeast Asia. And Mike met with NVA, who were part of the SOG Recon Hunter Killer teams.
wow.
And they met, and the reason why was to try to help each other better help us find our people, and he remains, and things were improving. And right now, with China flexing its muscle all throughout Southeast Asia, we have the best cooperation in history, from Vietnam, from Laos. Cambodia's hitting and miss with the dictator down there. But the efforts there, just a question of politics, time, and weather. Same thing with the missions. Like Dick was talking about earlier, missions would dictate, could be dictated by Mother Nature. In the monsoon, you're not running missions. On the other hand, by November of '68, we ran every day. We'd go out and get shot out at primary, secondary altar, come back, eat lunch, go out and get shot out of another target. The next day we did it. And there was twice, when we did that twice, and then finally the third day we finally got put into a target. And even then, we had a perfect ambush set up. We had a wiretap running. We could have had a POW. I wanted to live up to Dick's legend here, And what happened? Mother Nature closed in, and Cubby's at 10,000 feet, and he goes, I can't see the mountain you're on, let alone find your LZ. So the weather could be a major factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
For
crazy.
sure.
Well, you got anything else?
No, I mean, that's about an hour. And I could do this for hours and hours and hours. We, this is like him. I grew up on a lot of these books, and honestly, you guys and your time is the biggest reason I joined the military on my side.
Really?
Absolutely. Except I went to the better branch. I went to the Marine Corps.
Remember, our past president said it was the Marine Corps.
I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. There's a reason I left the grunts and went on to the other side, because those poor guys. I'm glad I started out that way too.
We had a lot of good men in Special Forces that started their military careers in the Marine Corps and wised up and came over to become Green Berets.
It's super common. Like I think probably 50% of the current active duty SF guys that I know all started out as Marines, so it's a pretty common path.
Yeah. Well,
one of the men that Dick Thompson and I really salute every day is Pat Watkins. He started in the Marine Corps. He met his wife there. They're still happily married today. Awesome. He did 3 tours of duty, all running recon in SOG while he's married. And he was just a complete stud. He was the one that was an Oscar 8. They were on a trail watch at night, and they counted the tanks, the people, all the stuff going by. And near the end, right before daylight, one of the NVA came up to his mining yard and said, hey, it's your turn for guard duty.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
The guy's like,
Crazy.
what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took them all day to get out, and the King Bee came in at last light. Captain On came in and hovered over a bomb crater, got the team out, and then after they got the team out, they had to duck and dodge from the ACAC that was up in the air because the Russians were coming south with the ACAC by that time. This was June of '68.
Yeah, Oscar 8 was a dreadful, dreadful target. I mean, that's the finale mission in our game. You start off running a simple eldest son mission, and then you gradually get tougher and tougher missions, power snatch, a wiretap, HQ raid, and the final mission in the campaign is Oscar 8, which basically was the headquarters of the 559th Transportation Division, the NVA team running the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos. And
as early as '67, we had a team got wiped out, several aircraft shot down. '68, we had the same thing. And then RT Kansas in '71, August '71 was in. They went in heavy with 5 Americans, 3 of which were KIA. And then the 10 Hagen, Lieutenant Hagen, was the recipient of the Medal of Honor from that mission. And that was all Oscar 8.
God, crazy.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really look forward to playing this game. I'm ready to go home and buy a freaking computer today just because of this. Like no shit. I'm serious. I'm looking forward to getting this episode done and putting all this together. And you guys really, have exceptional stories. And Rob and Sam, you guys have created an exceptional game. And like I said before, I think there's...
Talk to Rob. We're trying to work on a program to help veterans so they can get a computer that would be able to handle the game. So stay in touch with Rob. He's the man that pulls all the triggers.
Absolutely. Who's the veteran?
He connected us with
George. So we're going to work on some stuff. We're absolutely going to do some of that to try to help other veterans get involved with this and be able to play the game. And we've got some other stuff going on. So absolutely.
All right. Well, we can do this again. I've got to run because I got another Zoom meeting coming up, and I got a couple of honeydews here before the next Zoom meeting. If Mrs. Meyer is not happy, if that frying pan comes out, my shit is weak.
we call the wives the shadow governors. They're the ones that really run the government in the household.
Oh, amen.
Well, thank you so much for your time, gents. Rob, Sam, Jim, Till. I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
Take care, Dick. Rob, thank you
so much,
again.
gentlemen.
Later.